Did you ever wonder how the first cell might have formed, first living cell? So early during the universe, 3.54 billion years ago, much later, much later after Big Bang happened 14 billion years ago. So 4 billion years ago, when Earth started cooling down, there was only atmosphere and sea, absolutely no bacteria, no people, no animal, no plants. So imagine that, right? Early origin of life. And then there occurred thunderstorm. There was some lightning, and there was rain. And when that lightning occurred, because of that high energy, molecules, they broke and rearranged because of that energy. And when they rearranged, they formed something like oil-like molecules and amino acids and DNA, and they got all washed off by rain and they fell into sea. Because oil molecules, they cannot sink because they're hydrophobic, they don't like water, they stayed on top. And they also got into like little vesicles, we call them, and they captured first DNA. And that is how the first cell formed. Oil-like molecules and some DNA inside. And that cell persisted, started taking atoms and ions from the surroundings, and it started surviving and started dividing. So this first cell, then it was surviving, and it started dividing, and it started making more cells. It started consuming other cells, it started absorbing into it other cells in order to eat them. But then one cell, it decided to not kill that cell which has absorbed and use it as mitochondria. And later on, the other cells which were carrying out photosynthesis, because they had special molecules called chlorophyll, those cells were absorbed by this big cell. This is called primary eukaryote. And then it kept that also. And this cell with that mitochondria and chloroplast, it became first plant cell. That is how the first cells originated. I'm not saying this. I do have a proof here. Let me show you. Oh, so this is endosymbiotic theory. This is the first cell that I was talking about. And the cell that it consumed, ingested, it became mitochondria, which now we call as a powerhouse of the cell, which burns our food and releases a lot of energy. And the cell that performed photosynthesis, that was absorbed, and that was chloroplast, that became a chloroplast in this cell. So this cell with mitochondria and chloroplast became plants, evolved further, and gave rise to plants. And this cell with only mitochondria gave rise to animals and humans. So coming to the evidence that I wanted to show, there is a scientific evidence that this is how the first cell might have formed, or first organic molecules might have formed. I'm not saying this is just evidence to show this is how it might have formed, but this is not a proof. This is not a proof that this is exactly how it has formed. We can only show through experiments how it might have occurred. Right? So Stanley Miller in 1953, he carried out this experiment with this closed system set of tubes and glass containers. He took and welded them together, took seawater and provided with flame, and with electrodes, he provided spark here just to imitate exactly the early origin of organic molecules. And then because of vaporization, the seawater, it evaporates into this bulb where the new molecules are formed, and then it gets washed off and it's collected into this flask. And he tested this, and he saw some amino acids and some formaldehyde and hydrocarbons, which are actually the main parts of the oil-like molecules that I was talking about, which make the cell membrane, right? And this is the evidence that yes, we can prove experimentally how first organic molecules might have formed. But then again, this is not the exact evidence how exactly it might have formed in those early days, because none of us existed. There is no way we can show. And all this is the endosymbiotic theory that I was talking about. This is how the first organic molecules formed and the first cell formed, and how our ancestral cells for our plants and animals might have formed. So this is fun facts. This video has been sponsored by healthhomeskin.com. Keep watching and follow the playlist in order to answer other fun questions. Thank you.